China is often singled out by the West for allegedly violation of human rights. And China's human rights situation is often described by the West as deteriorating. So we have to discuss human rights here openly and honestly. To my mind, whether China's human rights are good or bad, we should first of all ask Chinese, not Washington, not Brussels, not America, not Europeans, but Chinese. You may ask any Chinese you meet, whether in China, in Europe, in America, or elsewhere, how is China's human rights today? I believe most Chinese will answer, it's better than any time in history. China now exports 130 million tourists a year, and 99.999% return to China. Why does it prefer to return to a country without human rights, as alleged by the West? Obviously, the opposite is true. China is a country where human rights progress is the greatest. It's so basic. It's a common sense assessment, at least for most Chinese. It's always mind-boggling for me that many in the West believe that they know China better than Chinese, they know Africa better than Africans, they know Russia better than Russians. This is wrong, totally wrong. Take Africa as an example. I've traveled to Africa many times. The West always think that democratization should be Africa's top priority. But you should at least ask the Africans themselves how they think about it. I've traveled to many of these African countries. I can say with certainty, most Africans, most local people want first of all to solve such human rights issues as food, jobs, disease treatment, street safety. But the West are then to place democratization above everything else. In the end, how many of these countries end up in chaos? No country in the world can realize all human rights simultaneously, and there should be priorities in achieving human rights. China does not follow the Western preference and regards poverty eradication as top priority in promoting human rights. And China has lifted over 700 million people out of poverty. This fact alone has changed China and the world forever. If China embraced only the Western approach and standards, then poverty eradication is not considered a human rights promotion, which is of course nonsense. But we have no time to wait for the West to wake up. We have done what we think is right. Actually, the West should themselves reflect seriously on their human rights problems at home. For instance, most of the Western countries, if not all, have not yet practiced equal pay for equal work. This is wrong. This is a violation of human rights. If you ask me, what's the most serious and gross violation of human rights in the 21st century? I will tell you, it's the Iraq War, launched by the United States against the will of the Iraqi people, against the will of the international community. How many innocent lives have lost in this war? Hundreds of thousands. How many people have been made homeless by this war? Millions upon millions. With regard to the Western discourse on human rights as a whole, I also detect a few weaknesses in it. First, it had difficulty in keeping a balance between civil, political rights and economic, social, and cultural rights. For instance, the American concept of human rights does not include economic, social, cultural rights. If only the United States could tackle the issue of nearly 1 in 6 Americans without medical insurance from the human rights perspective, the social rights, it would be much better and much easier for the United States to solve this problem. In short, protection of human rights is a noble cause for all nations. So, please, don't practice double standards. Let's do our best to promote human rights in this world, whether in Asia, in Africa, in Europe, or in the United States. Let's do it.